Now, how much predictability is there in the whale? Can you see the whale? Kind of. This is a whale jumping out of the water. So, how much predictability is there of the mathematical calculations of the whale jumping out of the water? Of the whale generating electricity? There's so many things that we as human beings today do not understand, but what we do know is that the whale, even the heart, is bathing in fat. The whale, there's no known case of cardiac arrest of a whale. But their heart is bathing in blubber and fat. How come the whale is capable of doing that? That we know. A whale's life, if they're not caught by the Japanese, will be at least 80 years. 80 years, simple diet, and no heart problems. And the reason that they do it is because the diet. Well, they die of age. And orcas, killer whales. You know, 20 killer whales will come around and start eating them alive. That's the way it normally works. I mean, it's not, I mean, maybe better than heart attack, right? Yeah, compared to 20 killer whales eating you alive and a heart attack would be better. Yeah. So maybe they better change their diet. We're thinking out of the box. So, what is important though is the work of Dr. Reynolds has been, he's the first scientist in the world to realize that the whale has very tiny cells going through the blubber that are dedicated to conductivity. His invention is based on the discovery that whales have conductive channels through blubber. Blubber normally is an insulator. Electricity can't get through. But the whale needs the blubber because they're going to the Arctic. So without the Arctic, without the blubber going to the Arctic, they'll freeze to death and don't have the nutrients to get there. So the system is very interesting that they develop these nano-sized channels, 2 cells thick, that have a conductivity that is close to absolute zero friction resistance. And this is made by a whale. Cells of a whale. Now, of course, that is the reason why he designed those nanotubes, which he is then now proposing to implant in the heart, that will allow you to eliminate the pacemaker. So he's not only saying a pacemaker without a battery, he's saying no pacemaker. He's saying no pacemaker, no surgery. And who's against? The doctor? Yeah, he's losing a surgery. He's losing $25,000 in fees. And who else doesn't like it? The medical equipment maker. Because normally they sell it for $15,000 and now, nothing. Who else doesn't like it? Yeah, the pharmaceutical companies. You know, if you have the pharmaceutical companies, the medical doctors, and the medical equipment makers against you, you better go for plastic surgery and change your face. You are better prepared. That's why we decided to come to Taiwan and develop the business here. Because which country in the world is going to suffer more heart attacks than anywhere else in the world? Mainly China and India. Why? Because they changed the diet. The diet change is already visible. An Indian and a Chinese have 4 times higher risk of heart attack and diabetes than a white person. Because the shift in diet is so dramatic that the body just can't cope with the shift. And that's why we need your leadership, Stan, in being a vegetarian and changing that. You know, because unless we do something about the diet, it's not possible. possible. In the meantime, Dr. Reynolds developed those nanotubes. And that is part of the story, of course, that comes out of the King of Hearts. You know, when we have a classroom, you have your classroom, and there are 30, 40 children. One classroom out of two will have a father, a parent to the child in your classroom who has a pacemaker. That means that child learning about this and knowing about the pacemaker, reading the story about Dr. Reynolds, figuring out that there is a solution, you have determined the career of that child. Because there is an emotional link again. And so what we're doing with the fables over the time is we're reaching out to the children at emotional levels of personal experiences. And that all links back right here to the amygdala, the long-term memory in the brain. This is neurophysics.